Hello everyone and welcome. I see a few people just logging in, so I'll wait about 30 seconds before we start up. Please, if you haven't done so already, please mute your phones, mute your computers, so we don't have any background noise. All right, great. I see everyone is logged in, so let's get started. My name is Carl Johnson, and I am the president of Cleared Systems. We are information compliance and cybersecurity company in Fairfax, Virginia. We handle about 100 to 120 customers dealing with CMMC, NIST, SP 800, 171, 172, and we also work with customers on normal MSSP duties related to cybersecurity and protecting systems. This particular session, we're going to do a very high-level discussion regarding CMMC. And this is not meant for anyone that is looking for technical deep dives into controls and understanding the relation to certain systems like Microsoft GCC High. This is for your contractor that is brand new to CMMC or NIST frameworks. They just received a letter stating that they must now become compliant, and they're trying to understand what all these CMMC, NIST, DFARS, what all this means. So again, this is in no ways to be a deep dive into CMMC, but a elevator speech or a very introduction overview of CMMC. So the first part, just get out of the way. Why was CMMC created? Well, CMMC was created simply because, as we all know, there is lots of data breaches going on. Just the other day, as some of us may know, what happened at the Pentagon, a few weeks prior, there was another data breach inside of the government. So you think about it, if the government is having these data breaches, think at the defense contractor level, and not the large defense contractors out there, but just think at the little guy that may make the widget that helps support the larger prime contractors. The government basically came up and said, well, we need to make sure that the transmission and the storage of our information, which is the federal information, is secure, and to make sure that adversaries don't get their hands on it. This session, again, we talk about CMMC, but you may hear a lot of times the discussion of COI as well. But that's also, again, related to information that is related to the U.S. government, and the U.S. government wanting this information to be handled safely and secure. So in this session, there is CMMC 1.0, and there is also CMMC 2.0. So the first part, just CMMC as a whole. If you are a DoD contractor, and that's anyone, whether you're making a widget, a small little device that goes onto a rocket or spaceship or weapons, or you could even be a janitorial company that maybe you're submitting reports or exchanging information with the U.S. government. This is the CMMC. It's all related to you as well. Now, at what level, which we'll also discuss, that really depends on just your organization and what your involvement is, along with obviously the size of your organization. Once you as an organization completes your assessment, that assessment then is uploaded into what you'll hear people refer to as SPRS, which is the website that basically you're telling the federal government, we have been graded, whether that's a self-assessment, which we'll talk about, or if this was a third-party assessment, we have been graded, and here is our score, and this will allow you to continue doing business with the federal government. Without having this assessment done, you will, at some point in the very near future, will not be able to do business with the federal government. And that also means if you are a subcontractor doing business with a prime contractor, you will not be able to do business with that prime contractor as well. So it's very important. It's not something you want to leave for the last minute, something you want to get a hold of now. And that way, when it is time for you to submit in the SPRS, only thing you have to do is keep your information updated, but at least you'll understand what's involved rather than waiting to the last minute. So this all started with your CMMC 1.0, which was originally released back in January the 31st of 2020. With the CMMC 1.0, there was 5 maturity levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. And at the same time, you had 17 capability domains, which I'll get into in the next slide, 43 capabilities, and 171 practices. Now, that may sound like a lot, but I assure you from doing these assessments and helping companies, a lot of these capabilities and a lot of the practices overlap each other. So it sounds like a lot, and there is a lot of documentation involved, but at the end of the day, when you look at everything as a group, it's not that much involved. And just to give you an example, and I don't know if you can see my screen here, might want to zoom in a bit, and I'll provide this slide at the end. But if we look here, this is just an example when we're saying capability domains. In this case, we're talking about access controls, which the capability itself is to limit information system access, right? So if you think of if you have Microsoft Office, for instance, you have some kind of role-based applied so you don't have everyone having access to everything. The same as what we're talking about things such as incident response, right? So if you have a data breach or your information gets stolen or someone steals a laptop, what kind of way are you going to report this? And that's where you have your incident response. And just like I have here in the chart, implement intrusion detection systems, report incidents to the appropriate parties. If you think before CMMC, the accountability for incident response was low when we're talking about defense contractors. If you go look over in HIPAA with OCR, there has always, or not always, but in the last few years, there's been a rule on the books where you are supposed to report if you've had any kind of incident and any kind of breach. So kind of think of with CMMC is that it's honing in, making sure that everyone is reporting and contacting the right authorities if there is a breach or if your information gets lost or stolen. It's very important. Now you go down over a year later, and now you come to the updated framework, which is your CMMC 2.0. With CMMC 2.0, one thing they did is that they simplified the maturity levels. With CMMC 1.0, a lot of questions we would get is which level do we belong to? Do we level to 1? Do we do 3, 4? With CMMC 2.0, it's now simplified into 3 pretty easy levels, and it also focuses more on small businesses. And the reason why that's important is because if you're a small business, and let's say you only do 20% of your business with the federal government, and 80% of the business is commercial, you don't necessarily want to invest $50,000, $60,000 into trying to catch up to CMMC and make sure that everything is compliant. That's a lot of money for a smaller business. So what basically happened with 2.0 is that they simplified it, made it a lot easier for the small business to get a footing in, and also to make sure that the amount of work that goes into CMMC is not as much as it used to be in the 1.0. So if you look here too at the maturity levels, with the maturity levels in CMMC 2.0, there's, again, like I said, now 3. Your basic cyber hygiene, which is your foundation level 1, which at this time you can do a self-assessment just to make sure that, 1, you are aware and that you have controls in place to make sure that there isn't a breach, and that you are doing basically everything possible to make sure that your information is secure. Now, when you get into your level 2, which is now your cyber hygiene is more advanced, that's where your third-party assessments comes in at. And then, of course, also with your level 3, also you're at your cyber hygiene at the advanced level, again, where your third-party assessments come in. These at level 2 and level 3, you cannot do your own self-assessment. This is what you would require bringing in a specialist to help you with your assessment. Now, speaking of assessments, again, you have a third party come in, and I think this was one of the concerns with the 1.0, is in 1.0 you could basically do your own assessment through multiple maturity levels. But obviously the biggest problem with that is that if you're doing your own assessment, how does anyone know that it's correct or is being done in the correct way? With your CMMC 2.0, again, bring in independent third-party assessors. That would be such as Cleared Systems, and it's valid for up to 3 years. So you basically submit your assessment. The government gives you a stamp and says you're good to go. And every 3 years you come back and you do it again. And a lot can change in 3 years. So I think actually 3 years is pretty generous. I think basically it should be annually, but right now it's at 3 years. Some of the benefits of CMMC, I know some people say it's a lot involved for the company side. Now you have to go out, you have to assess and basically audit yourself, or now you have a third party that's coming and audit you. I think it's a good idea. More so, it keeps your company out of the newspaper, keeps your company out of the news. We see time and time again how a data breach, once your company is in the news because you have a data breach, that's your reputation is on the line. Not only just from the stake of having customers and them knowing that you had a data breach, but think about it from the federal government's perspective of the federal government wanting to do business with you after you've had a breach. Even without CMMC, and let's say CMMC was never came up, it's still important to understand what's your cybersecurity hygiene and what's your posture. And I could tell you there's lots of companies that don't fully understand the importance of protecting things such as assets and laptops. Bring your own device, having mobile phones with CUI data in it. There is, to me, lots of benefits with CMMC. I think it's, again, important for every defense contractor to go through the practice of CMMC and getting used to it. Because I could tell you that data breaches are not slowing down. This session has only been going on for 20 minutes or so, and we probably have had 2 or 3 data breaches throughout the country. So data breaches is not going away, and I believe that the only way to reduce the data breaches is to get a hold of improving your cybersecurity hygiene and its posture. So as I'm making this session, there is some rulemaking in place, and this will have some more changes to CMMC, but more importantly is the timeline for CMMC implementation. If you look online, you'll see so many companies now offering CMMC consulting. And one thing I will say about that is to make sure that the company you choose to help you with your CMMC consulting, make sure they themselves would be able to even pass a CMMC assessment. Also, make sure that they are actual experts in compliance. I do see lots of companies that just maybe even a year ago was not even thinking about CMMC, and now all of a sudden they are experts. We've had a couple of customers that have come to us. They've paid a lot of money to someone claiming to be CMMC or NIST SP 800 expert, only to find out that that company themselves doesn't understand any of the compliance itself. Just putting that information out there. So again, just make sure that when you work with a company that you know that they are reputable and that they understand CMMC, and also they themselves can go through an audit or assessment about any issues. Now, if you have any questions whatsoever, again, you can contact us at any time. My name is Carl Johnson. You can reach us at info@clearedsystems.com. If we receive an email from you, we will return a reply to your email, normally within an hour or so after receiving it during the business day. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to us. And this has been about CMMC. Thank you, and have a great day.